Hello and welcome to this Filbert Flies review of UK2000's Luton 2020HD scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. You join me here on final approach to runway 25 at Luton to give you a little look at the surrounding area and also to give you a feel for the performance of this add-on with the A320 NEO. We're going to complete the approach and landing, and unusually I'm going to show you a little bit of the taxi-in as well, and then after that we will meet again at a stand and I'll give you a proper look around this scenery in different weather and lighting conditions and give you my opinion on it. See you shortly. You will have noticed during our landing the beautifully undulating runway at Luton here, and that is of course a feature of Microsoft Flight Simulator, that we can now have sloped runways, and it's very nice to see. The taxiway we're just approaching here is also sloping, and I would say it's slightly overdone. If we have a look from the outside view, you'll see as we go over this dip the plane really rolls to the left quite a lot, so just something that I thought was worth pointing out that could maybe do with a bit of work in future. See you at the gate for more. So here we are parked up on stand 5 at Luton. Let's take a look around. I think it's fair to say that the most striking feature of this scenery, as it is in the real airport, is the EasyJet headquarters / hangar over here, with their trademark bright orange all over it. Let's take a look at the terminal buildings. The modelling's pretty good. We've got these glass-roofed walkways along here, which look rather nice. The texturing on the buildings, though, leaves quite a lot to be desired. You notice that we have no PBR glass windows, we just have a flat texture, and it's not a particularly high resolution texture, certainly on this section. You can see the blurring and jaggedy edges there, so that's a bit disappointing. And that trend continues, unfortunately, all the way along this terminal building here. All the way along. The arrival sign is much sharper than the surrounding building, so that's something. And you know, if you're in the cockpit of an aircraft, you're probably not going to notice the low resolution textures. But I do think we've come to expect, if not transparent glass, then at least PBR materials that reflect the sunlight in the windows. Got a bit of a flickering zebra crossing here. And really the theme continues all the way along. Let's go and have a look at some of the hangars on the opposite side of the airport and see how they compare. I should point out at this point that you have two options when installing this scenery. You can install it either with or without static aircraft, and I've chosen to install it with for now, at least until we have realistic AI or live traffic. Yeah, so these are very much the same low resolution textures. The hangar doors are flat as far as I can tell, and yep, it's just the different shading that makes them look at all three-dimensional. The old Monarch hangar over here is no better. Let's move around to the newer part of the airport, the extension on the other side, and see if the situation changes at all over there. Well, I'm pleased to say that the buildings over here do look slightly better. If we get in nice and close, the textures are higher resolution. They're not brilliant, they are not truly HD, I wouldn't say, but they're a little better than what we saw on the old part of the airport, I think. Got a bit of flickering going on down here again with this barrier. And we've got this construction site here, and the textures for that are incredibly low resolution. Not a big deal, you're probably not going to notice it from the air, but certainly on the ground that doesn't look great. These multi-storey car parks are quite nicely modelled, with cars parked on the upper deck. And we have, obviously, on the landside areas, as we've come to expect, very low resolution ground textures. But there are some buses and things like that included for added interest. And here is the iconic roof of the EasyJet headquarters. And again, we've got very low resolution textures. And I think even on approach, you would potentially be able to notice that if you looked closely at it from your aircraft. Moving down to the ground textures are somewhat more impressive. They are pretty high resolution. You can see the individual stones in the concrete, so that's nice. And the taxiway lines look pretty good, as do the stand numbers on our left and right as we move around. The corporate aviation terminal over here, or the business jet terminal, is modelled to a similar standard as the passenger terminal. But again, the ground looks pretty good. And I enjoy the static business jet models there. They add a certain atmosphere to the scenery. The night lighting on the apron looks really pretty good, I must say. I haven't experienced the strange shadow appearing and disappearing that I saw at Bristol, and nor have I experienced the flickering that went along with that. We do have a few little anomalies like this flickering zebra crossing, which we also saw by daylight. And the terminal interiors look... they look alright through those windows. They don't look amazing, but they look alright. It does look sort of like a terminal that is lit up from within. These buildings over here look really nice by night. They're brightly lit, and perhaps a little bit at odds with the terminal, just in the brightness of the light that is emanating or appearing to emanate from the window textures. But that's a small point. Overall, not a bad effort at all at night lighting. The multi-storey car parks and the construction site and this walkway up here all look pretty well lit as well at night. I'm quite impressed by those. And I like the floodlighting on the roadway and the floodlighting on this taxiway over here. Although unfortunately it does draw attention to these two roadways which just lead to nowhere. Now I've had a look at the satellite imagery from Google Maps to see what these are based on, and it appears there's a construction site over here at the moment, and perhaps this is to represent a road that's under construction or being demolished. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks a little bit odd, doesn't it? It also looks a little bit odd where the asphalt and the concrete textures join. We've got a sort of stitching going on there, which, not the end of the world, but doesn't look great. The taxiway centerline lighting outside of the floodlit areas is nicely done. And we've got taxiway edge lights as well as we go around this corner onto the main runway. So nice job there. And the runway also looks very nice by night. It really picks out its slope. The rain effects, as always in Microsoft Flight Simulator, look pretty good here. And in fact the wet ground really brings out some of the details that they've put into the ground texturing, like this patch of oil, perhaps rubber, some kind of dirt, which looks really nice. It's a nice little touch. And we got a few things like that scattered around the apron. So yes, nice rain. Although the more of these reviews I do, the more I think, well, this is really a feature of the simulator rather than the scenery. But anyway, it's nice to get an idea for what the airport looks like in different conditions. The snow effects in this scenery are actually really impressive. You'll notice that there's a light dusting of snow around the main stands in front of the terminal, as if they've been cleared, but perhaps not that recently. And if we move over to the remote stands in front of the hangars, there's a thicker covering of snow over here, as you might expect. There are no harsh transitions between areas of heavy snow, light snow and no snow. It's all been blended in quite nicely. So we don't have solid lines where the snow begins and ends, which is really nice. If we move around perhaps over towards the runway areas, we'll see how it changes over there. Very nice. So this main taxiway has been cleared completely. The snow on the grass looks good. There's a route into and out of the fire station, which has a similar effect to the main stands in front of the terminal, as if it has been cleared, but not that recently. And then we have thicker snow here. But again, you've got these smooth transitions. It's not a straight, clean line. So that's really nice. The runway itself has snow on either side of it, but the central section again is pretty clear of snow, and it almost looks like there's sort of dirty slush over the centre lines. So that's really impressive. It's one of the best implementations of snow I've seen. Good job. So what do I think of this add-on? Well, there's a lot that I really like about it. The ground texturing is fantastic, the implementation of snow is also fantastic, and the night lighting on the apron is really, really good. That said, it's really let down by the low resolution texturing of the terminal buildings. I think for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, this level of texturing just doesn't cut it anymore. And I hate being critical of UK2000 because they've produced some fantastic airports over the past several decades. I certainly couldn't do anything anywhere near as good as this. But it must be said that for £18.49, I would expect more. Well, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I hope you found it useful. If you have, then please do click the thumbs up button down below and consider subscribing to the channel if you'd like to see more of this sort of thing. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon on Philbert Flies. Take care. Bye-bye.